Today is July 29th,
Mm-hmm.
1988.
Yeah.
My name is Joe Todd. This is an interview with Mr. Leon Barefield
That's right.
in Springfield, Missouri.
That's right.
Sir, where were you born?
I was born in Russellville, Arkansas.
And when's your birthday?
August the 5th,
What year?
1914.
1914. Okay. Who are your parents?
Who were my parents?
Yes, sir.
Well, Roy Barefield and Pearl Barefield. Right?
What was her maiden name?
Her maiden name was Baker.
Baker. Okay. And you go through school in Russellville?
No. No, I left there when I was just a child, and my dad worked for the Shell Pipeline Corporation, so we followed him around throughout the country, throughout the states, Missouri, Oklahoma.
And did you do any work for the CCC or WPA program?
No.
No. Okay. And when did you join the Navy?
I joined the Navy September the 4th, 1935.
1935. Why the Navy over the Army or Marines?
Oh, I don't know. I just really I couldn't say.
Mm-hmm.
I just maybe thought it might be a little bit cleaner life being aboard ship, not having to crawl around in the dirt. So
And where were you living at that time?
at that time we was living down here by close to Pacific, Missouri, a little town called Labadee.
Mm-hmm. And where'd you go for boot camp?
Where did I go from boot camp?
Mm-hmm.
I went aboard the Oklahoma.
No.
At Bremerton, Washington.
No. Where'd you go for boot camp?
Oh,
Did you go-
for boot camp.
Yeah.
Oh, I went to Great Lakes.
Great Lakes.
I was in Company 3 at Camp Berry.
Yeah, very. I was going to ask, was there any specific reason that you joined the Navy?
No.
You just, what?
Well, at that time there was a big old depression going on, and I needed something to do, and so that's about the only reason that I went in. Jobs were kind of scarce, hard to come by.
Tell me about boot camp.
Boot camp? Well, I kind of enjoyed boot camp. We had a good commander, Chief Frassy, as they called him. Don't ask me to spell it for you, because I can't do it. But anyway, we had a good three months up in Great Lakes, and after we finished our boot camp, I had a big snowstorm, so the whole company had to sit up there and shovel snow for about a month.
What type of training did you have at boot camp?
What type of training?
Yeah.
Nothing but the drill and marching.
Mm-hmm.
And, just the ordinary routine of being adapted to Navy life.
When you first went to boot camp and you saw the regimentation of it, what'd you think?
I thought it was wonderful. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed cooperating with all the boys and the ones in charge of our platoons, our company. And I think it was nice, just the way that a bunch of guys could meet, never know each other, and all get together and come out. And old Company 3 was a rooster company several times, as they called it.
What's Rooster Company?
Well, the outstanding company of the month was the rooster company, and they had a little red rooster flag that they carried when they marched along. We were kind of proud to get to be rooster company.
If you were the last company, what'd you get?
Well, you didn't get anything.
When I went through, that was a hog platoon.
Yeah, hog platoon. Huh? Yeah.
Okay, so after you shoveled the snow,
Uh,
and you went, where'd you go?
well, then we were all spread out, and a lot of us went to Seattle, and some of us went to San Diego and Long Beach. And those that went to Seattle and went on over to Bremerton while they went aboard the Oklahoma.
Now, did you request the Oklahoma?
Yes.
Why?
Well, because I had lived in Oklahoma, and you know, a lot of the other ships had different state names, California, and so, and the Oklahoma just it appealed to me, so I said, well, I'd rather go there.
When you first saw the Oklahoma, what'd you think?
Man, I thought it was the darndest ship I ever seen. She was big. That's the first time I'd ever seen a big battleship, you know. And, so it was quite a thrill.
And where were your quarters when you first went on board?
Where my quarters? Back in the 3rd Division.
And what part of the ship is that located?
Aft.
Aft.
Aft on the starboard side.
I think I have. Turn that off for a second. Yeah. I've got one here somewhere. Ho ho ho. Well, I thought I did. There it is.
Yeah, that's all right.
Could you point out? Oh, let me.
Where I was?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's on the other side.
What's on the other side?
Yeah. This is port side, and I was over on the starboard side, in the main deck, and in the 3rd Division.
Okay, so
See,
the third.
the 4th Division was this side on the top side,
if I can.
and I was on the 3rd.
Now which is the? Now you say this is the port side.
This is port side, yeah.
Okay.
See, there's a bow there, see?
Yeah. And what side? You said that you were forward or aft?
I was aft,
Aft.
over on the starboard side.
Okay.
Aft, starboard side aft was the 3rd Division,
Okay.
in the deck force. And our quarters was right down on first deck, I guess
Okay.
you want to call it.
Now when you say deck force, what do you mean?
Well, we took care of the deck.
Yeah. Okay.
We scrubbed the deck, holy stoned the deck, took care of the deck, kept it all painted and all the equipment on it. And we also had the turret.
Mm-hmm. Now when you say holy stone the deck,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
Well, you just take a sand and a brick and a stick, and you had a little hole in the top of that brick, and you just holy stoned the deck with that brick.
The whole deck?
Everybody. Oh, well, time you take 10 or 15 guys all lined up in a row, and you going down there scrubbing that old deck, boy, it don't take long to scrub it.
So you're lined up with other guys?
Oh yeah, yeah. You had a bunch of them get together in the mornings and get up there and holy stone that deck. You could eat off of it. It was so clean.
Why is it called holy stone?
I don't know why, but they called that a holy stone. I really didn't. If I heard the dimension, definition of it, I don't know. I don't recall just what it was.
Okay. Besides holy stone on the deck, what else did you do?
Well, we had jobs of painting and taking care of various things about the main deck aft there, and so we took care of our number 3 turret there, the guns,
Now, which is number 3 turret?
14-inch guns.
Is it on here?
Yeah. I think it's just right down here.
Can you turn that around so I can?
It's in here. See, you got 2 turrets aft.
Mm-hmm.
You got two forward, and this is a 4th Division turret here, I think. And this was a 3rd Division turret.
Okay, so you had the one with the 2 guns.
Yeah, I want the two guns.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And yeah. So we had charge of painting that turret on the outside, and keeping it clean, keeping our part of the deck clean.
Would you tell me
And,
how you paint a turret? What do you do when you paint a turret?
Well, the first thing you got to do is clean it.
How do you do that?
Well, you don't do it the way that I did it the first time I ever used saltwater soap. because old Jimmy Heath, the boatswain in charge back there, he told me to scrub the turret. He didn't give me any instructions or anything. He just scrub it. So I got me a Jacob's ladder and had to hang it up there, and I worked myself around painting, scrubbing that turret. And when I got through, which involved about a good hour and a half's work, why, I got back around to where I'd started, and I started to get down. Jim Heath standing there. He said, "I thought I told you to scrub it." I says, "Well, I did," and that was the wrong thing to say. He says, "Well, scrub it again." So then after that, I was on his little chit list for for I guess about 3 months. And every working party that was designated for the 3rd Division, if they wanted 3 men, why, Jimmy only sent 2, because he knew that I'd be up there for 1. It didn't take me long to realize that I was on his list. And so then, why, that went on for about 3 months.
What did you do? What did you do wrong scrubbing the turret?
Well, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't wrench it good, once you get around it, you have to use a saltwater soap. If you don't wrench it good and you get through, time you get back around to where you started, that turns white. It's not gray. It's not a Battleship gray. It turns white. So that's one way that old Jimmy Heath, he had of making me realize I had to wrench it down. But then he didn't tell me to wrench it down good, see. I was supposed to know that. But anyway, it was about 3 months until I started for a working party. Passed to work for a 3rd Division, sent about 3 hands, you know. So I started to go putting my gear up. I had been charged with cleaning the winch there. And so I'd been cleaning the winch, and started to go putting my gear up. And Jimmy says, "Where do you think you're going?" I said, "I'm going to get that working party." He says, "When I want you on a working party, I'll let you know." So I was off of his list.
How'd you get off the list?
Well, by doing my job and doing a good job.
It took 3 months.
Being willing to go on the working parties, but it took me 3 months to get off his little list there, see.
What is bright work?
Is brass. You shine brass. And you shine that like the rails going down into your compartments from the top side, or any other brass down inside. They had brass like these around the stanchions, brass around the stanchions. You had to shine that brass. You get down in the compartments. There ain't brass on top side, why, you had to shine it. And we had to keep it shined.
How long before it started getting dull?
Well, it wasn't very long in that salt water. It was practically about every other day you had to get it shined. And a fingerprint get on it, why, then you just have to shine it. Keep it shined.
What were the daily details besides holy stoning and bright work, scrubbing the deck?
Well, going on working parties,
What?
taking stores aboard, or any other details that needed manpower to get the job done.
Now, when you say working parties, what?
Well, you had working parties. They'd call for a 3 or 4 hand working party, like in supply, like I was in later. While we had working parties to bring stores aboard. In other words, a crane was there, and you used a crane from the dock to unload cases of food, cases of provisions and whatnot. Why, then they brought that on top side. We had to have men to carry that from where the crane unloaded down to the storerooms, like cases of food for the galley and whatnot. Why, we had to have storerooms to store that stuff in, see, and the supply department was in charge of storing it and making the issues, or any other detail that they might have.
Describe your quarters.
My quarters? Well, it's just in the third division, and later on in the supply is mostly the same thing. We just had we had nice quarters where we all slept in the same compartment in that particular division, and we that's sort of a crowded.
How large of an area
deal?
was it?
Oh, the berths were frame berths where you had a mattress on a berth and all chains, and when you weren't using them, while they were pushed up against the wall, made more space, and well, it was kind of a crowded deal. when you got your berths all down and everything, your bunks you call them. But it was it's livable. I understand now they got more space, less people with all the new equipment and whatnot that they have.
What about
We were kind of crowded, but yet it was livable, and we enjoyed it. We had to scrub each other's back once in a while in the showers, but that was all in fun.
whenever the bunks were down, how much room did you have between the bunks?
Well, you didn't have much room, just about enough to squeeze through.
Yeah.
There wasn't much room at all.
What about your meals? Where'd you take your meals?
Meals? Well, we had ours right there in the 3rd Division, right there in the compartment. I would say there was a little space left for the mess tables and whatnot. Of course, the mess tables, when they were folded up or put up on the overhead, as you call it, and secured there. But mess cooks, you had to perform mess cook duty now and then, and the mess cook's duty was to get those down during the meals and put them up, and then go get the tureens full of different foods and bring them, set them on the table. And then when I was in the supply department, why then we had to eat up in one of the casemates, and that was outside of our compartment, see. And so anyway, the food was good.
How were the tables secured overhead? What secured the tables?
Well, they had little iron racks where they would stick the table into one, and then the other one would fold out. Mom, this is Joe Todd.
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
From the state of Oklahoma. But they had different methods, but that was just one. And all you see up in the casemates, they were the 5-inch casemates that they had to, if they had to fire those guns, well then the tables had to be put up.
Now the 5-inch gun was used for what?
Broadside
Broadside.
guns out of the casemates.
Did you serve your 3 months as mess cook?
No. I don't know why, but I served my mess cooking on the Wyoming. When we went on the midi cruise to Europe, well, they transferred some of us guys over to the Wyoming,
Why'd they do that?
so they'd have room for the middies aboard the Okie.
Where did you transfer to the Wyoming?
At in Indianapolis,
Okay, Annapolis?
yeah.
Okay.
And so some of us guys were transferred to the Wyoming, which was me. I got transferred from the 3rd Division and went to the Wyoming. And on the Wyoming, why then they wanted some volunteers to be transferred down to the engineering gang. And so I found out that if you went down there, you could sleep in a bunk, but if you stayed in the deck force, why you had to sleep in a hammock. So I volunteered. That's where I got my mess cooking.
Compare the Wyoming to the Oklahoma.
Oh, the Wyoming was nothing compared to the Okie. You couldn't. There's no comparison. See, the Wyoming had been stripped of all of her armament, you might say, and all of her blister ledges had been removed, and she wasn't a very steady ship. I mean, at least a little bit of wave or something, or she'd really roll. And,
What was she used for?
Huh?
What was she used for?
Mostly for the midi cruises.
Oh, okay. Just training, maybe?
Training and whatnot. She wasn't. I don't think she was considered to be in the battleship line.
Yeah.
But it was one of the old battleships of Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went to. Well, you know the rest of the story. We went over to Europe on her, and then at Cherbourg there, why they got this deal about Spain, so that we all got transferred back to our old ship. Back to our old divisions.
Tell me about that trip.
Well, I don't know. There wasn't, as I recall, been quite a while ago. You're racking my mind, which is not good. No, we went down to. We went down first, I think, to Gibraltar, and from there we went back all up around the coast of Spain. I forget all the exact, but we was up at I think around close to Santander, Spain there. One night was in the harbor. I believe it was there. I wouldn't swear to this, but anyway, whatever harbor that we was in, it was two ships from the different forces, from the rebel force and from the regular Spanish force, and it was during the night. They got to firing at each other, firing right over the Oklahoma. And boy, it didn't take us long to get out of there. And we went around several other places. We went into one place down off the Med, I think it was. We went in there a couple of days after they'd had a big battle, and there were dead bodies floating all around. And the only thing we did, we went to these different ports, and we evacuated any refugee that was coming out. It's supposed to be American refugees, but I'll tell you, there sure was an awful lot of different people other than Americans.
I was going to ask if you
aboard.
picked up anyone besides Americans.
Oh yeah, the biggest majority that we picked up were foreigners. But
I heard there's a baby born in the Oklahoma
yeah,
during that time.
Yeah, there was a baby born.
And someone said that was another first for the Oklahoma. First battleship to have a
No,
baby born.
first baby to have a baby born. Yeah.
How long did that last, that cruise?
That cruise, I don't know. Going down there, I guess we was down there, I guess a couple of months, going around to various places, and we finally went up to Barcelona, I think. Had Liberty, and then we finally come on back to Gibraltar, and from Gibraltar on back to States. We made a bunch of little ports. I can't. I'm not trying to. I got them all. I got a bunch of them written down here. Santander, Spain, we was at, and Malaga, Spain, Valencia. We went to Marseille, Cherbourg. What was it? Cherbourg, France. Bilbao, Spain, and I don't know. Saint Jean de Luz. I don't know. Just to mention a few.
Was Captain Foy on during that time?
Who?
Foy, Captain Foy.
Captain Foy. I really can't say.
Who was your division officer?
I don't remember. And that's something else. I can't call it.
And what's your fondest memory of the Oklahoma?
My fondest memory? Well, I sort of liked the whole cruise. I mean, everything that we did. I look back on it with fond memories of a service that I really enjoyed. And I don't have any regrets at all. The whole thing was good. I went aboard ship as a seaman second, and when I come off of it, I was third. And if I'd have stayed on, I'd have made second. But I don't know. I just wanted to come home, and I guess good Lord was looking out after me.
When were you paid off the Oklahoma?
Well, when was I paid off? Well, I got paid off at San Francisco before we went to Vancouver. Don't ask me the date. Well, yeah, it was August. 1939.
39.
That's when I got paid off there.
Uh,
It was a convenience of the government that I got paid off for a couple months early. And they'd have had to discharge me in Vancouver, see, if I hadn't done that.
I ask your favorite. Oh, could you? This may not be a fair question, but how would you compare the Oklahoma to the other battleships? Is that a fair question?
Well, it's not too fair because I don't know about the other battleships because I never was on one.
Some people say it wasn't regimented like a flagship. And
Well, we really didn't have too much regimentation, you might say. It was, she was a good home for the time that I was on her. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the association with the crew. I enjoyed those that were close to me that I knew especially well.
who were some of the guys that you knew on the ship?
Who's what?
Who were some of the guys that you knew on the ship you served with? You mentioned one guy, you called him Pappy someone.
Oh, Pappy West. Oh, yeah. You mentioned Pappy West, and everybody that was on board the Oklahoma know Pappy West, and #1 motor launch, a 50-footer. And there's old Jamie Heath was the boatswain's mate, and first class boatswain back here. And old Bodie Horn was a coxswain under him. And there was Kasnick. Reveley, as I recall, and several others that I knew back there. And then go to up in the supply. Why there was old Upson, Otis P. Upson, I recall, a good friend of mine. There was Pittenger. I think he settled down here in Arkansas, I'm not sure. And then Conley was a good friend. He and I rode back cross country together to come on 30 days leave. And Schiffbar was another one. And I never will forget the paymaster, Max Sleeve, as they called him. Schliewee. If he had a small space to write his name, he wrote it small. If he had a big space, the more space he had, the bigger he wrote his name. He was a good boy. And I know Jacobs was a friend of mine, worked there in the office. Oh, and there's a few others. I can't really recall them all.
When you were in supply, what were your duties in supply?
Well, I was in charge of the GSK General Stores room for quite a while.
When we say general store, what's
GSK.
what's that?
Just general stores, nuts, bolts, and stationaries, pipe fittings and valves and other necessary items needed about the ship. And that was every chit that cleared through the supply department for the issuance of material from the other storerooms had to clear through the GSK, and that's where I was stationed. And then from there I went up into the pay office, where they handled all the pay accounts of the individuals, helped pay paydays, and you entered all the vouchers pertaining to their ratings and the individuals. Then we had the whole payday each, twice a month. And it was an interesting thing.
Tell me about dry dock.
Tell you about dry dock. Well, dry dock was just a time when you really tore down your ship and started over with it.
What?
You really fixed it up. You had the scrubber down, and all the like I showed you here, all the pictures of the Okie in dry dock. Why the bottom had to be scraped. It had to be repainted.
What supports that ship in dry dock?
A what?
What supports a ship in dry dock?
What supports a ship in dry dock? Her keel.
Is just sitting on the keel there?
She's sitting on the keel.
Okay. How do you?
Because the water's all pumped out at dry dock, see, and the ship is just sitting there just like here. You can't see any water. She's sitting right on the keel. They got big blocks in there and whatnot, and sits right on the keel.
How do you scrape and paint the bottom?
Well, you got scrapers and whatnot that as you come into the dry dock, and they start to pump the water out. Why, that's when you get down on the sides of the ship and you follow a little float deals they bring in that you stand on, and that's why you follow the water down, scrape the side off, barnacles and whatnot as it dry dock is pumped dry. Then when she's pumped dry, well then she's scraped down again and she's painted. The bottom gets painted again. See?
What color is the bottom painted?
Oh, mostly red.
Red.
Mm.
Why red?
I don't know. It was the color of the paint that they used for. I guess it's supposed to keep barnacles off of the side of the ship or whatever, and the bottom of the ship rather. And I'm not all up to date on that kind of stuff, but I bet that's what it was for.
What does the coxswain do on the ship?
The coxswain?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the coxswain he's only a little old third class petty officer. That's what they call him, a coxswain.
And
especially if he's in the deck force. Yeah. If I had a third class rate and a storekeeper, I'd be a third class storekeeper. But if I was in the deck force and I was a boatswain's mate, you get called a coxswain.
Okay.
That's about the only abbreviation I can give you for it.
You told me your fondest memory. What's your least fondest memory of the Oklahoma?
The least fondest?
Mm-hmm.
Well, gee, I don't know.
Besides scrubbing the turret.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Well, I have a least fondest memory of not because I'll tell you, I just went into the military and I decided, well, this is a job. If I'm going to work on the outside, I have to do what they tell me to do. So I just I was going to do what they told me to, as long as it was a legitimate thing. And I really didn't have too much trouble. I was lucky. I never got put on a report or anything like that. And
I was going to ask if you ever go to captain's mess.
No, I didn't go to captain's mast, and I didn't get put on a report. And I always tried to do my job and do it as well as I could. And I guess that's going that to it with just one job. I didn't do as well as I could, but I didn't know any better. And so after that, I guarantee you, when I scrubbed down some paintwork, I almost rested thoroughly.
Where was your station, general quarters?
Well, my station was in the powder room, in the 3rd Division. And then what I mean is in the powder room, but that's off of the handling room of the turret, about 3 or 4 decks down. And you got a handling room in there that has you got a shuttle here that you put a bag of powder in there. A bag of powder is about that big around, about that long. And you put a bag of powder in that thing and you turn the shuttle and it takes a bag on the outside of the room where you're at. In case you have an explosion in there, why that's supposed to, it's supposed to help the boys escape on the outside. Something happens in the handling room, why it protects the powder room. And we were always locked in there during a battle or something. And so then after that, after being in the handling room there, when I left, I transferred to the supply gang. Well, then I was in another type of ammunition supply for the 5-inch broadside, which was down about the 2nd or 3rd deck down. We had big conveyor belts that we had to load powder on to be sent up to the 5-inch broadside.
Where was your station during the abandoned ship?
During the abandoned ship was on the 3rd deck aft, right above our compartment and on our own deck, right opposite the whale boat, which was on the Davids there.
Would you tell me your average day on the Oklahoma? Just what your daily routine, what you do.
Daily routine?
Yeah. From the time you got up.
Well, from the daily routine, the time you got up, when you got up about 5 o'clock, while you went up on the top side the first thing after maybe a cup of coffee. Went up on the top side and got it swept down and cleaned up. And if Holy Stone needed, which Holy Stones were generally about one day a week. And that was on Saturday. because you had to have that deck looking good for inspection. And then you had another day you had to get up. I had you had to scrub your tables, your food tables. You had to bring those all on top side and scrub them. And then after that, well, then you had to clean your paintwork down. You had to scrub your paintwork down. And then if you had other work to do, or such as a specific job, like my job was taking care of the winch. Well, I had to clean that winch. I had to keep it painted. And anything needed to be done to that winch during the day, well, I had to take care of it. And if anything else happened, went on a working party or anything, well, I went on a working party. Or then probably about noon, come along, while we knocked off for dinner. And after about 1 o'clock, while would go about other little jobs as the first class bosun would think of. Maybe something needed special attention, needed painting or cleaning or something like that. Why, or either haul the wheel bolt in and check it, or see if everything was in good shape. And then at the evening, why we knocked off. Why it was time for supper. Why then after supper was movies or something like that, relaxation or playing cards or whatever you want to do. Just anything. Meet on the top side, which was one of the biggest things to do on top side. Talk to your shipmates or whatnot, or playing catch or had other little games that you could play, you know. And so it was very nice.
And when was lights out?
Oh, lights was always out about 9.
9.
Yeah.
Did you play any sports on the ship?
No, sports at that particular time wasn't really the best thing to do.
Because I think at one time they had a baseball team.
Yeah, we had a baseball team. Well, I remember trying to think of his name. Great big guy. Went through training with. He went aboard he joined the baseball team. And some of your petty officers in charge kind of frowned on sports because because anytime they had sports had some activity, it took you away from their command. You know, where you had to do what they maybe had something for you to do. Say one sports, while all baseball players lay up the case made so and so. Well, then he'd have to quit and go. So, and they kind of frowned on it just a little bit because it kind of interfered with the other men's work.
What kind of food do you have on the ship?
Kind of what?
What kind of food do you have?
Food? Well, am I wrong saying we had good food? Oh, we harped about it once in a while, but like as always, there's also something to gripe about. Maybe eggs not quite done, or something like that, or maybe you didn't like. We had a certain kind of a shingle that we didn't like too well, but
the SOS.
And anyway, why? There's some of those things like that. Overall, I think it was pretty good food.
Now the Oklahoma was an oil burner, wasn't it?
Huh?
The Oklahoma was an oil burner.
Yeah, she burned oil.
How often did you have to take on the oil?
Oh, I don't really know. I didn't have anything to do with that, and I can't say.
I forgot to ask, when you were along the coast of Spain, how did you get the refugees from the shore to the ship?
From the shore to the ship?
Yeah, in Spain.
We brought them out in our motor launches, like I showed you here. Then we hoisted them aboard, some of them in those bags that we were looking at.
Why not use a regular gangplank or whatever?
Well, it was a little bit too rough. And you take somebody trying to get from a motor launch, which is bounced up and down onto a little 3x3 square piece of step there to step on to the gangway, gets kind of dangerous. Whereas if we could get hook them onto this bag and bring them aboard ship, well then they wouldn't have to worry about it. So they decided to take it on. See, we had a crane on the stern of the ship, and that's how they hoisted them aboard.
Is that the aircraft crane?
Yeah, that was a crane that they used to. See, we had two planes aboard, and they catapulted them off. But then when they wanted to use that crane back there, then they used the same crane to hoist these refugees aboard.
What about inspections of the ship? What type of inspections did you have?
Personnel inspections. And then we also had inspections by different different ships get designated to come over and inspect the ship, and they inspected our records, especially in supply. When I was there, they went over our records and all of our storerooms and everything else, inspecting for cleanliness and upkeep, maintenance, and making sure our records were kept up to date, that we was doing the right thing. And then also on your deck forces, they had people come aboard ship from other ships to inspect our maintenance and upkeep of the ship. Also our engineer spaces and whatnot was all in inspecting.
How often did you have a captain?
That's a tradition. Oh, captain inspection is about every week, every Saturday. Personnel inspection.
So what would he inspect?
Come up, see if you had a good haircut, and see if you had clean uniform on, and if you didn't have, why, you got your division. You'd know it through your division officer. I wish I could think of his name. Big, tall, red-headed guy. I can't think of his name. It's just he eludes me.
What about the admiral's inspection? How often did you have that?
The what?
Admiral's inspection.
Admiral's inspection. Well, I don't know. We had several of us on board. I don't know the exact period, but an admiral was always going around inspecting different ships and whatnot. I don't know whether they had any specific time or not. You just get a little notice on it, maybe a couple of days' notice. Admiral's inspection will be so and so. And man, then the whole ship, they really tore into it and get things all ship shape. And if you need to paint anything, well, you got to slap the paintbrush to it and got her painted. I had one officer one time that I had done my storeroom, I had cleaned, and I thought I had it in pretty good shape. But there's one little spot next to the bulkhead there. There's a bunch of shelves in there next to the bulkhead, but it was wide out here, but as it got back in there, it got more narrow. See? And it's practically impossible to get back in there to clean that. Anyway, it turned out that was my only bad mark on me, was that particular area. Inspecting officer looked back and I says, it's dirty. Just check him down. Dirty storeroom. So I got a bum mark on it. I'll tell you. The next year I made up my mind that wasn't going to happen anymore. So after the inspection was over and everything else, I tore out those bins, everything else, got that out. They got down to the bare ship metal there, bulkhead, and man, I painted that with white paint that I'll tell you, you could just glisten, enamel. And I put those shelves back up, and I made it a point to keep that clean, boy. Anytime I was having some extra dirt in the storeroom from opening box or something like that, I covered it up. Well, when they had another inspection, the same officer came aboard again. And as he stepped over my threshold there into my storeroom, and I reported to him, and I said, welcome back, sir. He looked at me kind of funny. He said, you recognize me? Yes, sir. I said, you was here before. What did I do? I said, you gave me a bad mark. He says, yes, and I know exactly where I'm going to look again. He started right at that same spot. And I let him go. And man, he looked at that, he turned around, he told my supplier, I said, come here. I want to show you something. He said, look at that. He said, do you see any dirt back in there? And the supplier said, no, I don't. He said, well, I don't either. He said, I don't know how he did it. He says, how did you do this? He says, this was dirty last time that I was here. He said, how did you get that clean? I said, sir, those bins are all torn out. I tore it all out and repainted that and then put it back. He said, boy, he said, that's what some people won't do for a perfect mark. He says, give them a 4-0. Anyway, I got a big kick out of it.
How would you describe the officers on the Oklahoma, just in general?
The officers?
Yeah.
In general, they were good. I didn't have any complaints. We did have one supply officer was kind of strict, but well, you can't blame him in a way. Overall, I'd say they were good.
What are the blister ledges in the Battleship?
Oh boy. Well, blister ledges, they go around the ship on, and they're what they're the primary use of those things. It's a ledge, sticks out on each side of the ship, on the other side and on this side too. Goes back to the stern, comes back around, and you can walk on that ledge there. But the thing is, in battle time, something like that, if they elevate their guns out and they want to get a little bit more elevation to them, they fill those blister ledges with water, and that weights that side of the ship down. And if you're firing from the port side, you on the starboard side, you fill the starboard ledges, fill them up with water, that elevates the guns on the port side a little bit more than just would be ordinary, so they can shoot a little bit farther. I think that was proven at some British battle of Jutland or someplace like that, where that if they did that, worked that procedure, why they fooled the Germans and they fired on them instead of, they could reach them, whereas they couldn't reach them previously. And those things had to see, that's what happened there at Pearl. See, the Oklahoma and some of these other ships were laying in there and had the blister ledges open to air them out. They had to go in there and take the covers off of them when we going to be in there for a week or so. They take the covers off to air out the blister ledges. Some of them had to be painted and cleaned and whatnot. And but then those things were open and they didn't have time to cover them. See, and they lost their protection of that particular.
Yeah, she was the first ship hit there.
Yeah.
Was. Yeah. She was wide open.
Yeah. Well, we used to do that. We used to go in and they'd open the blister ledges and just take a plate or a manhole, just take the plate off and lay it over off the side and let the air get down in there. See? And I think sometimes they pumped air down in there to dry them out and whatnot, a little rust or something. I was lucky I didn't ever have to go down in there. Mostly the side cleaners had a side cleaning detail composed of, I don't know how many men, I forget, but composed of boosters. That was their job, to clean the side of the ship and take care of the blister ledges and whatnot. Side cleaners, they call them.
And were they built on originally, the blister ledges? Was that part of the original ship?
Yeah, that's the original equipment.
Whenever you heard the Japanese attack Pearl Harbor, the Oklahoma had sunk, what was your reaction?
Impossible. I never felt any safer than I did aboard that battleship when I was down below deck. I didn't have a worry in the world. Even though we talked about battle or something like that, I didn't worry about that. I just thought it was impossible for her to get sunk.
Did all your friends go down with it?
Yeah. See, I've already been off for a little over a year, and I still haven't found out about some of my friends. About some of them I talked about.
Yeah, I have a list I was going to bring in.
I'd like to about Jacobs and K-A-Z-K-M-A-R-C-Z-Y-K, Kazmazik. I'd like to know about him, Jacobs. And there's a couple others there in the payoffs I'd like to know about. And I've never talked, I've talked to one person that was on board the Okie and got out. And I just called him Sales. He worked down the sail locker. About 4 or 5 decks down. Had a sail locker. When you went aboard ship, you turned your sea bag into there. When you left, you drew your sea bag out. And I knew him because he used to come down to the GSK, and I'd issue him cloth to make a canvas to make sea bags from and do other sewing and whatnot, And that's how I knew him. And I seen him down in Jacksonville, Florida after that happened. I asked him and I talked to him, and he didn't know too much because He was one of the boys that got out through the bottom of the ship. He was down in his sail locker when she turned over, and when he turned over, he says, I was on the bottom. He said, I couldn't go any farther. And so he says, I got the tapping noises, and he said, I did get down a little bit farther. He said, I had a little time when she turned over, while he says everything was upside down. And he said, lights went out, so I just feeling around. And he said, I kind of remembered a few things. And he said, outside his door there, he said there was a place that was dogged down. And he said, I finally managed to get to there and undog it. He says, I found out some fresh air was up in there. So he says, I just went up in there. He says, that was on the bottom of the ship. And he says, I found a piece of pipe, and he said, I just kept pounding on he said, I thought it was the bottom of the ship. And then he said, they found me. So he was able to get out. I asked him about several other guys, but he didn't know much about them.
There's that Nelson Gladwell.
He
lives down here in lives in Carthage. He was on the ship, and he got off.
Yeah.
And then there's a Daniel Goodwin lives in Carthage.
Goodwin?
But he was married, and he was on shore when it was attacked.
Oh, he was on shore.
But he wasn't on.
Gladwell sounds familiar, but I don't. Oh boy, I don't know. It's been so long that.
Whenever.
Yeah, I've been out of the Navy longer than I was in.
Whenever anyone mentions the Oklahoma, what do you think of?
I think of the Oklahoma. I see the ship, and I see the boys, and I don't think of the state. I think of the ship. That's the one. That's the word I associate more with the battleship than I do with the state.
And then whenever anyone mentions the Battleship Oklahoma, what's your reaction? What do you think of it?
Well, I immediately, just like you did, I immediately see the boys, the fellowship that I had. Because we were a pretty close bunch of boys together.
Well, anything else about the Oklahoma you can think of? Any specific stories, any incidents?
Oh, I don't know. I guess it's incidents that happened to.
What about going on Liberty?
No, I'm going to tell you those. Oh, we had some good liberties and good times. And drank a few beers together. And, oh, I think one time about Hilo. We went to Hilo one time there at Pearl. We went over there, the ship did. And from Honolulu, we went to Hilo, and then we went on a tour around up to the volcano, which you've probably seen some pictures here. And there was about 6 of us that went together. We went all day long up there onto that volcano, and didn't have anything to eat. And then we came back, and we wanted something to eat, so we stopped and got some cold cuts and some bread. We were going to make some sandwiches, got some sandwich bread and whatnot, you know. So somebody said, well, let's get a little wine or something to drink, a little pop. So we tried to get some pop. Didn't have any pop, but he had some sake. So we didn't know what sake. I never drank any sake. Didn't know what it was. And you know, we got some sake, and we sat down alongside the road. And we was eating and trying to drink some of this wine. This is the bitterest taste and stuff I ever tasted. You had to hold your nose to take a drink of it. Oh, it smelled terrible. Anyway, we got daring each other for about a drink. And then, oh boy, then we got to feeling good. There were 2 of us, we got daring each other to take a drink, see. So the 2 of us, we finally killed that during court, and the rest of them, they just stood around and watched us. Then they had to take care of the other 2. You know, we stayed drunk for 2 days. So help me, got up next, just perfectly sober, got up the next morning. Board ship, got up the next morning, just perfectly sober. Go out and take a shower and got a drink of water. I was the first one to come back up. Well, I was just as happy as could be. That darn drink of water got that stirred up in me again. And I told Conley, said, "What's the matter with you?" Says, "You been drinking again?" I said, "No, ain't had a drink." Yeah, I said, "You better watch that shower down there. Something wrong with it." He went down and he come back. He was just as giddy as I was. And I'll tell you, I never seen two guys more giddy. We went back ashore. I was Sunday. Went back ashore on Sunday. We didn't take another drink. We just had a wonderful time. Oh man. Oh well, it was just one of those things. Oh, we had some good liberties. Yeah, we had some bad times too.
Were you on board?
We never got in any trouble.
Were you on board when the Oklahoma broke the shaft, the drive shaft?
No, not that I recall.
No, it broke one of the shafts.
Yeah.
To the screws.
Yeah, they had two of them.
Yeah. One of those shafts broke. About I think the same time they sunk a freight train, so that was after you.
Yeah, that was after I left.
Yeah.
No, as far as I know, while I was on her, she didn't break it.
What about?
She must have had a bad time when she come back from Vancouver.
Mm-hmm. What about when the Lexington almost hit the Oklahoma?
Let's see, when did that happen?
That's when they almost collided.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask.
I don't recall it if I did.
I was going to ask at night. I heard they used to have collisions, the different ships. Were you ever on board when they collided with
a different ship?
Yeah.
No. I was on the carrier, and I know we collided with ships, oilers and whatnot coming alongside. But the Oklahoma, I don't remember, unless it's just something that's slipped my mind.
Yeah.
I don't recall it right offhand.
Well, Mr. Barefield, I think we have a good interview.
Well, good. I hope so. I don't. You've been asking me quite a bit here. Kind of hard to go back for what?
It's 40-some years now.
48 years or something like that. Close to 50. That's quite a long while to go back.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Shut that off. There.
Well, no, the Oklahoma was a good ship as far as I'm concerned. And, I was trying to do the right thing, so I guess that's why I don't have any regrets or anything else about being aboard. I was always too darn busy for a board ship to get in trouble.
I would talk to some of those guys that made the great cruise at 25.
Yeah.
They talked about it down in Australia.
Yeah.
I was going to tell you when it collided with the Lexington, well, it didn't really collide. It was at night. And they sounded the collision horn.
Yeah.
And of course, it was overcast and the sea was pretty rough.
Uh-huh.
The guy at the bridge knew what he was doing because he turned the rudder and pulled the ship around, and the flight deck of the Lexington went over the Oklahoma.
Went over the Oklahoma.
And what it did, it snapped off the flagstaff.
Oh, it did?
It had been at a right angle, it was that close.
Oh boy, that was pretty close.
They said it was inches.
Wow,
And so they said that the next day the two captains got together and had a drink.
Oh, I know what snapping that flagstaff off back at the back there. That's the one you're talking about on stern?
Yeah.
I was on board an ammunition ship during World War II in Okinawa. When they had that big typhoon out there in 45. And I'm telling you, we came down off of a wave. It was in a typhoon, see. We come down off a wave, and there was a merchant ship right on top of the wave, just crossways. I looked up, seen that ship setting up there. I was, for God's sakes, what's going to happen now? And when that ship come down and we went up, it knocked our flagstaff off the back.
That's close.
A merchant ship, mind you, setting up there this way. Here we are this way. When the wave went down, she went down, we went up.
Where were you on December 7th, 41?
December 7th, 41, Jacksonville, Florida.
So did you go back in the Navy then? Or-
I was in the Navy then.
Oh, you were still
I was
in
in
the
there,
Navy?
yeah. I was in the Navy then. Oh, I had come out of the Navy and had come back here, and my folks were living here at that particular time, and then I was Dad worked for the water company here. I came back here and got a little job and fooled around here and there for about a year. And I went down, I decided I'd go back to the Navy. And I went down and talked to them about going back in. I wanted to keep I was third-class storekeeper. I wanted to keep my rate. But they wouldn't let me keep my rate. Well, I'd go back in as seaman. I said, go back through training again? They said, yeah. I was, I ain't about to. I've had that. I was either go back in as third, or I ain't going to go back in. Well, so then they wouldn't do anything about it. So I said, well, that's all you see. So I just forgot about it. Then they come out with a deal that said anybody had been out less than 7 years, so you could go back in with the rate that they had when they were discharged. So I went down and out of the newspaper, cut that out, went down here, flopped that down the guy's desk. I said, how about taking me back in as third-class storekeeper? He looked at it, he said, well, I guess I better, hadn't I?
So what'd you do during
So he took me back in. So I went back in, went to North Fork. From North Fork, went down to Jacksonville.
What'd you do during the war?
Huh?
What'd you do during the war?
This last war, World War II? Well, I was I was off from Jacksonville. I was still there, see, and so I went to the Rainier ammunition ship. It was a fleet ammunition, and we controlled all the ammunition that was issued to the fleet during World War II.
The Pacific Fleet?
Yeah, out in the Pacific. We didn't get to over in Europe, but we did out in the Pacific.
Were you in any of the big, you said Okinawa, what about Guadalcanal and those type?
Well, no, we sat back up there, and the fleet come back to us, and we. Now look, I didn't go on the Rainier until later.
Oh, okay.
I was on the Rainier from the Philippines on back on up, and I didn't get down there to Fiji and those places, and I went on the Rainier at Christmas Island. Boy, that's a hot spot down in the Pacific. Christmas Island.
What'd you do in VJ Day?
And, well, VJ Day, we was down in the Philippines, sitting there at Luzon.
You celebrate?
Yeah, they broke out a bunch of flares from the signal gang and shot off a few flares and whatnot, but around at the different ships. But now the Rainier was sitting there with 6,000 tons of ammunition, and the skipper says no flares. So we just watched the other ships.
Well, I got to head towards St. Louis.
St. Louis, huh?
Yeah.